The wrong pacing will kill an otherwise amazing chapter or book. Too slow and your reader gets bored, puts down your book, and doesn't pick it up again. Too fast and nothing seems earned. Your story feels rushed, your writing feels amateurish. There are certain mistakes that I've seen in every novel that I've edited, and I've made them myself, that don't get talked about. So we're going to talk about them right now, and we're going to use A Throne of Glass as our example. The first mistake that will kill your chapter's pacing is that your character's emotions do a U-turn. A character changes their mind about something integral to the story way too fast. In a romance, maybe they start the chapter feeling really hurt by their love interest, they're angry at them, but by the end of the chapter, they're more neutral about it. In a thriller, maybe they start the chapter nervous about the looming threat of their super creepy neighbor, but by the end of the chapter, they're more relaxed, they're not really thinking about it. It feels drastic, it feels unintentional, and it ruins your pacing because your readers are suddenly like, wait, where are we? How did you get there? I thought we were mad, or I thought we were nervous about our creepy neighbor, and now we're like relaxed. What's going on? You're fast forwarding your character development. Novels are not character microwaves, they're character ovens. Now here's an example of what it looks like when a character's emotions don't do a U-turn. In chapter 2 of Throne of Glass, Selena has been shackled and dragged out of prison and into the throne room where she's meeting with the crown prince. For reference, she's the most skilled assassin in this world. On pages 6 and 7, she thinks, "Bow to him indeed. If she were bound for the gallows, she would most certainly not spend the last moments of her life in groveling submission." She's angry, rebellious, stubborn. Then at the end of chapter 2, around pages 12 to 13, she's still angry, rebellious, stubborn. It says, in less than a second, she could get her arms over the prince's head and have her shackles crushing his windpipe. She could destroy the king as he had destroyed her. Major emotion, the major conflict within her remains the same throughout that chapter. Now, what does do a U-turn in that chapter is what Selena thinks is going to happen. The expectation she has that she's going to be dragged away to the gallows and killed is flipped on its head. She starts the chapter saying, "I'm not going to spend my last moments groveling." And she ends the chapter saying, "I demand to be told why you're here and what services you wish of me if I'm not destined for the gallows." She realizes she actually has a chance to escape with her freedom, and she says, "I'm listening." But she doesn't go, "Oh, wow, amazing, I'm not gonna die. I'm in such a better mood now. I might be able to earn my freedom." That would be a U-turn. So as you're writing, keep track of your main character's biggest internal conflict throughout the whole story. Ask yourself, what is the main conflict my character is facing in this story? The one biggest conflict, and the one that doesn't get fully resolved until the end. For Selena, maybe the main internal conflict she's wrestling with is that she's not free and she wants to be. So if I was outlining Throne of Glass, I would want to track where she's at with that, what she thinks and feels about it, from chapter 1 to chapter 55. Now, if you can avoid that mistake, you're on the right track, you're doing great. But if you don't also address this mistake, the pacing is still going to feel super wonky. The second mistake that kills your chapter's pacing is not having any reflection on a big moment that just occurred. You put your character in an event that really stretches them, it really challenges them, it's difficult, but then there's little to no internal reflection on that event. Maybe they have a huge fight with their boyfriend. Maybe they've been thrown in prison. Maybe they just battled a dragon. And after, the plot just sort of continues as if nothing happened. I see this a lot. We get little to no insight into what the character is thinking or feeling about this crazy intense event they just went through. What this will do is make your character feel like you skipped a beat, because you did. It's exactly what you did. And again, I've done this too. But what you're doing is giving the action and no reaction. Don't forget that your reader is also experiencing the events of your story. If there's a lot of action, tension, conflict, obstacles in your chapter, your reader is going to be reacting to that as they read. So if your character doesn't react, it's gonna feel off. Your character is going to be less relatable, because people don't just go through hard events with absolutely no thoughts or feelings about them. And similarly to the first mistake, it speeds up your pacing without the satisfying character development. We end up seeing what happens, but not how it affects your main character. And that is the piece that readers really connect with. That how is what takes your story from good to great. let's revisit Throne of Glass. So Selena is dragged out of prison, taken like a piece of trash, and deposited in the king's throne room. And she's told if she can win this competition, she can serve as the king's personal assassin for 6 years and then earn her freedom. This is the first big moment of the story for Selena. It kicks the whole thing off. So what we should see is at least a small moment where Selena reflects on what's just happened. She's been in prison for a year. Now she has the carrot dangling in front of her freedom. What is she thinking and feeling about this? In chapter 4, it says, when Selena finally collapsed onto a bed after her meeting in the throne room, she couldn't fall asleep despite the exhaustion in every inch of her body. Before she'd gotten into the bath, Chow had removed her shackles. She'd felt everything. The reverberations of the key turning in the lock of her irons, then again as they loosened and fell to the floor. But it was too strange to lie on a mattress, to have silk caress her skin and a pillow cradle her cheek. She had forgotten what food other than soggy oats and hard bread tasted like, what a clean body and clothes could do for a person. It's 5 paragraphs of reflection, interiority, and very minimal action. She's literally lying on a bed thinking. Nothing's going on other than that. And then we immediately jump back into the action when the guard picks her up the next morning. But that's exactly how you keep your pacing solid. You give your main character a chance to think about what just happened and what it means for them going forward. Readers are following Selena's point of view, so they want to know how she's dealing with all of this. If it jumped from big important moment, Selena agrees to be part of this competition, to her training in the gym, no thoughts or feelings, just going through the motions, the pacing would feel too fast because it would read as if she's 100% on board with it now. And she's not. But what's more important is we would miss the rich thoughts that Selena is having on the fact that she's already experiencing a little bit of freedom. The feeling of her shackles being unlocked and falling to the ground. It's an incredible moment to zoom in on. And her feelings about how odd it is, it doesn't feel right to sleep on silk sheets and a pillow. Those give much more weight to the next line, where we see that the guard finds her sleeping on the floor. Those 5 paragraphs give us really important character building thoughts. You gotta have them. Now, another point I will say on this is you can incorporate reflection and thought and feeling and interiority during moments of action as well. At the end of chapter 3, Selena goes, yes, she would go to Rifthold, to anywhere, even through the gates of the word and into hell itself if it meant freedom. She's thinking, she's reflecting on this decision that she has to make. But if we jumped straight from that to, and then she was picked up to start training the next day, again, the pacing would be faster. We would miss out on those character building details that we get in between. So as you're writing, add moments, scenes, they don't have to be long, where your main character is reflecting on the big, impactful, intense moments that just happened to them. Now, if you can do that and keep your characters from doing emotional U-turns in a chapter, you're going to be rocking and rolling. But even if you do that, this last mistake can still kill the pacing in your chapter. The third mistake is picking the wrong moments for interiority. I see this happen a lot as well. You're writing an important scene, it's a big moment, we're right in the middle of it, and suddenly you jump into your character's head and we're there for like 3 pages. I have been known to do this one especially. Unlike the previous 2 mistakes, which speed up the pacing, this will slow it down entirely. And readers end up going, wait, I want to keep seeing what's going on. Get back to the action. You don't want that. So let me rewrite a passage from Throne of Glass to show you what I'm talking about. Let's go back to chapter 2. Selena is in the throne room and she's thinking that she's going to be led to the gallows and executed. The bold text is actually from Throne of Glass, and what is not bolded is my addition. Thundering steps issued from behind her, and someone grabbed her by the neck. Selena only glimpsed crimson cheeks and a sandy mustache before being thrown to the icy marble floor. Pain slammed through her face, light splintering her vision. That is the proper way to greet your future king, a red-faced man snapped at Selena. Selena knew she couldn't act on her impulses, not with this many guards around, but how they clawed at her. If she could just figure out a way to shake free from this guard, maybe she could make a run for it. But would that help anything? Would they shoot an arrow into her back? And if they did, could she keep running? She thought back to her time at Endovir, her only attempt at escape, when she'd been so close to the outer wall she could smell the stones. Then the piercing sting of the lash against her back, no shouts, no warning, just a lightning bolt of pain shooting sparks before her eyes. Here it would be even harder. I mean, I could go on, but hopefully you see the point. We're no longer in the scene in the throne room. We're in Selena's head, and actually we're back in the prison where she was thinking about her last escape. That's what slows pacing down, especially in those bigger, more intense, more action-oriented scenes. Remember, you're creating a mental image for your reader. They're following your lead. So if you have them in a bedroom with a couple arguing to the point of divorce, and it's super heated and really intense, and then suddenly your reader is flashed back to the husband's childhood, or we're just in his brain thinking, we lose track of the scene that we were in. That's what slows the pacing down. You don't want to add too much interiority in those big, major milestone moments of your story. And if you aren't sure what the major milestones of your story are, you can take my Story Milestones course and find them. But if you're in the middle of one, do not interrupt it with a lot of internal monologuing. What actually happens in Chapter 3 of Throne of Glass is primarily action with a little bit of thought and reflection and interiority sprinkled in. It keeps the scene moving and only gives us what we need, and then we get a little bit more at the start of Chapter 4 when Selena is no longer in that scene. And in real life, that's what would be happening too. She's in the throne room, she's not going to be stopping as people are talking to her and going off on this whole long internal monologue about what she could do now. She's going to be paying attention to what's going on, right? But when she's lying in bed, that's going to give her more time for her thoughts to run. All right, so let's recap. You're going to make sure your main character's emotions don't do a U-turn in the chapter, especially if it's the major internal conflict of your story. You're going to have them reflecting on the major events that they experience, and you're not going to do that right smack dab in the middle of those major moments. Once you do that, the pacing in your chapters is going to be so much smoother. Readers are going to eat it up. If this video was helpful, you're going to want to watch these as well, and I will talk to you later. Happy writing.